all schools have been represented in the past as well, so they're pretty much familiar with the way things work. We've drawn numbers to identify which teams are going to go first, second, and third, and Roger's going to explain a little bit about the challenge.
So first, we want to thank the International Hotel Investment Council, which is our gracious sponsors of this event, and they helped articulate what the challenge would be. The case is actually a strategic challenge facing the international hotel industry's major owners and investors. The theme this year is on the shared economy and specifically the growing popularity of Airbnb, HomeAway, VRBO, and House Trip. The specific challenge, is how can hotel companies best compete and or collaborate with the rise of the sharing economy? The students were specifically asked to represent the voice of the next generation. So I'll give you some more specifics, but I wanted to introduce our esteemed judges, all who are members of the International Hotel Investment Council. First and foremost, we have Jan Hazelton with Four Seasons Hotels and Resorts. We have Marvin Rust with FTI Consulting. I got that right this time, right? Yeah. And we have Tim Helliwell with Barclays. They're going to be acting as if they're angel investors for each of these teams, and there are going to be 6 criteria they're going to use to judge each of the teams. The first is the idea and corresponding value proposition and relevance to the industry. The second is how their thoughtful, analytical, and well-reasoned arguments, including a business model. Third is their response to the judges' questions. Fourth is creativity. Fifth is the quality of the presentation, both written, which they've already submitted, and orally, which they're presenting today. And sixth is the chemistry of the team. So we have a really tight time frame. Why don't you tell a little bit about the timing and introduce the first team?
Okay, so each team was given 8 minutes to present. At the end, 8 minutes, the alarm will go off, and then we'll give you about 20 seconds to wrap up. And then they've got about 8 to 10 minutes time per team for questions from the judges. And then we'll do each team. The teams won't be watching each other just in case we have repetition of some of the questions. And then when we're all done with the 3 teams, the jury will deliberate, and then we will try to give an answer relatively quickly, since we don't actually have another session tomorrow like we did last year to announce that. So you're going to actually have to sort of deliberate rather quickly when it's over. Okay? All right? Yeah, and I'll keep track of the time. So first team we drew numbers was, who was first? EHL. EHL is going to go up first. Okay. We'll come and get you tomorrow.
Can you actually see?
Yeah.
Hello. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to our presentation. First of all, I would like to ask you a question. Where would you rather stay? The junior suite at the Intercontinental here in Berlin, or 4-bedroom penthouse? And where would your company prefer for you to book? 5 years ago, hotels thought it would not be possible for the sharing economy to affect their revenue. Today, they're still sure that they will not steal market share for the upscale and the business segment. However, did you know that with its current growth rate, Airbnb will book the same number of rooms as IHG in just 3 years? The business segment alone could reach the same amount of room night as FRHI and Kempinski. Many leisure guests switch to Airbnb or the sharing economy in general, and will not visit hotel except if they become less price sensitive or more risk averse. Therefore, hotel should focus mainly on defending and growing their market share in the business segment by focusing mainly on the entrepreneurial generation, the millennials.
By 2020, millennials will account for 50% of all business travel. At the same time, they're already being considered as the entrepreneurial generation, representing almost a third of the world's entrepreneurs. Their businesses do not have the critical mass to negotiate corporate rates, and they have distinctly different requirements from service providers than other larger companies. Therefore, our solution aims to cater to these SMEs and fulfill their needs of a facilitated access to business advice and capital. So No, sorry. In order to, the foundation of this community will be a platform that is comprised of two major components. Firstly, a digital network-based community, and secondly, a physical collaborative environment. In order to maintain a certain level of exclusivity and quality, new members will need to be referred by others or reviewed by administrators of the site. So the network-based community will have a networking function on which members can showcase their business profiles and connect with others in order to share information and exchange ideas. Its main purpose is to provide education, support, and information, but also marketing exposure to small business owners and entrepreneurs. It will also have a set of hotel-based functions, such as a reservation platform on which members can book rooms, conference facilities, and reserve places at community-held events. An expense tracker will automatically record all expenses that are generated through this website, while also allowing to manually add externally purchased products. Apart from that, it will feature a newsfeed with user-generated content and news articles that is similar to the one on LinkedIn. And this will increase the traffic on the website as it delivers information that is really relevant for the user. But it also increases the information exchange, as all users are allowed to share their personal information, to share their articles or comments or whatever concerns them. Now, Anna is going to introduce you to the in-house functions of the community.
Napoleon Hill said that you can best succeed by helping others to succeed. There are three major ways individual hotel properties can transform network into community and really help small businesses to succeed. Firstly, your hotel can create a business incubator and temporary office space on premises. This gives startups and SMEs a working environment that is both closer to their market and also purpose-built for innovation. This has two major advantages for your hotel. Firstly, innovation really inspires further innovation, having a cyclical effect. And by transforming your hotel into the foundation of ingenuity, you put yourself at the forefront of change, which is something I think the hotel industry really needs. Secondly, you can create a collaborative, open plan working space to promote open collaboration between our members. Here, our members and our partner businesses, which I'll talk about later, have the opportunity to host meetings and working sessions outside of their rooms, but in a place more suited to productivity than just the lobby lounge. And finally, hotels, particularly those in areas with large numbers of platform members, can organize and host exclusive conferences and seminars for our members in conjunction with our partner businesses. This has the opportunity to generate revenue not only for the hotel, but also for your partner businesses. So by now you might be wondering who exactly you should partner with. Essentially, any large company that offers products or services that are crucial to the success of SMEs can be potential partners. This could include administrative services like financial advisors, operational like payment processing services, and even travel-specific like car rental or parking for when they're staying at your hotel. This allows the hotel company to really remain front of mind in these SMEs when they're thinking about hotels, particularly because you're embedding your hotel brand and platform into their daily operations, which is really important. When it does come time to book a hotel, yours will be the first that they think of. Furthermore, this has the opportunity to generate revenue through, and Sasha's going to go more into the revenue generating opportunities we have with this strategy.
So we have 6 main streams for the revenue. Firstly, e-commerce, as a commission will be paid to the hotel every time a partner product is bought directly through the digital platform. Secondly, would be the partner referrals. So the hotel will receive a commission when a partner product is bought using a referral code. Then promotional space. So that would work with display and per-click advertising. In addition, loyalty point could be used much like a currency. And the hotel could actually sell the points for a higher rate than the redeeming one. And then lastly, medium-term rental as well as conferences and seminars will augment the room, F&B, and ancillary revenue. So in conclusion, to survive and flourish, the hospitality industry needs to compete by leveraging on the numerous strengths, by creating or increasing the sense of community the guests feel. They will create long-lasting relationship with lucrative market segments. The question being, are hotels ready to take this risk and to innovate, or will they be outplayed by those who already are? Thank you very much.
Thank you for the presentation. How am I? Cool. Very good.
We only took the best photos.
Yeah. How do you target your SMEs to utilize these revenue generating ideas?
Well, as we said previously, it would be a referral-based system of recruitment to the platform initially. And while this is sometimes slow to start, it often results in a better sense of community within the platform because everybody is actually linked to everybody else already in a real-life community. And I think that's a problem you find often with social network type communities, is that people don't know each other offline before and they meet on this platform. So it's not really community, it's more network. So this referral system would probably be the best way to recruit people. And clearly the hotel company would have to first go out and find a set of startups and entrepreneurs, but there are trade-specific magazines for this, and there are very specific places SMEs and entrepreneurs are already looking for advice. So I think you would market it in these spheres to start with. Does that answer your question, or was I not?
And can you give me an idea of what the cost is to implement this program?
No, this is not the cost. Sorry, that's revenue. The cost for the royalty.
Well, I mean, here you can see revenue generation, but regarding the cost, it will depend on how you implement it. We really looked more at the basic idea behind it of creating this community of attracting the specific target segment and create a real life community instead of just linking in a network and making it anonymous. So it really depends on to which detail you want to implement it, and also which company implements it. It will also depend on your current target markets.
Just as a hard-nosed banker, I'm trying to get my head around how you create this community. Can you give me how's the community going to work? Can you give me some? I'm struggling to understand. How will it work?
Okay. Can we pretend you're running an SME, which you're maybe not, but we can pretend. For example, you're running an SME here in Berlin, and you travel often to get closer to your target markets. Or maybe you're not from Berlin, but you have to travel to Berlin to reach your target market. So you have to stay at a hotel, and you're part of this network of other SMEs. So you know you're going to stay at our hotel. And when you come, you can also take part of workshops that sort of help to brainstorm and crowdsource solutions to current problems that you have, because SMEs really have trouble with advice. Maybe they don't plan well enough before they start, and then they're in the deep end already, and they don't have capital. So the basic idea is to get people coming to our hotel to really crowdsource solutions to the common problems faced by SMEs. And this is how it would work. So I would come with my SME, and we would go through with a consultant or even a financial advisor, maybe even Barclays, would come and give a workshop on the best way to either secure finance or to pitch to people, to pitch an investment proposal even. and these kind of things. And so not only would you have your community because you were referred, so you already know those people, but you would meet additional people at these kinds of events. And that's what we really want to bring out, the physical community, not just the network, the digital community.
So I gather that, for example, Starwood hotels have a collaboration with Uber. Have you looked at that in sort of putting together your model, and how do you see your idea working compared to that?
So our first idea as well was to first collaborate with the sharing economy with different models, except for accommodation. So it would have been as well to collaborate with food and beverage providers. We just thought that for hotels it might not be the most profitable long term as well, because we thought accommodation providers could potentially as well have similar deals afterwards.
Okay.
Sorry, and just to add to this, Uber could be one of the potential partners of the business, and these partners would really have to be targeted to the kind of hotel you are. For example, Four Seasons might not partner with Uber if they were to implement this, this strategy. But then again, it's perfect for Starwood because they're targeting that kind of brand. So our partners and our collaborators would really depend on who exactly was to implement it and the scale that they were implementing it on.
Yeah, that's one of the challenges I see with the model at the moment, is that the people with typically large conference spaces are the more upmarket 4- and 5-star hotels, and you're suggesting that an SME community is going to be sharing space and taking space within that sort of hotel, as opposed to perhaps a budget or economy brand, which is going to have less conference space. And I can see that, you know, much in the way that entrepreneurs sit in coffee shops and basically buy a cup of coffee and sit there and create for the day. It feels a very different proposition to take meeting room space out of a hotel like this, for instance, and say we're going to put that to an SME creativity product and we're going to take some revenue from whatever they create from that. Do you see that as a challenge, or do you see that as possible to work?
I see it more as a necessary evolution of the budget and mid-scale segments. They don't need necessarily very large conference space because we're trying to create a close community. So we wouldn't suggest having a conference for 2,000 people maybe, but smaller workshops-based work that could take place in the mid-scale and maybe upscale, but not upper upscale and luxury, because this is also, we understand SMEs, they're not going to the Four Seasons to spend thousands of dollars on getting advice. So we think it's really important to pick the scale of the hotel also.
Okay, thank you.
Does the audience get to ask questions?
How are hotels, in your view, resourced to fulfill your plan? Do you see hotels having a skill shortage? And if yes, what do you think that skill shortage is?
I think hotels already have they already have expertise in targeting business customers. And this is a sort of business customer, so it is just moving towards this millennial idea of entrepreneurship and small and medium enterprises. So they should just focus on what they already do best and innovate a little bit more, which will also help them it will put them closer to innovation. So they will be directly at the source because they will host the people creating the new inventions for tomorrow, which will help them to further innovate and increase their market offering.
Because hotels aren't innovative. So if you're a startup and you think, oh, I'm going to go stay at a hotel, this is the real, that's what I think the shortage is. If hotels aren't innovative, why is an innovative company going to come to you? And that's why you'd have to implement the whole program to really get them.
Thank you.
Just leave it on for the others.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have got a problem. With the rise of the sharing economy and the increasing population of alternative accommodation sectors, a serious threat has entered the traditional hotel market. New opportunities and trends have been picked up by others. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm talking about players such as Airbnb and Home Away from Home, which in the future, even though they don't admit it yet, will rule our world. Once and for all, it is time to bundle our strength and to be ahead of the threat.
But, ladies and gentlemen, there still is hope in this world of ours. We are Anna Boston and Sterre Bisschop, and we actually see a way out. And therefore, it is with great pleasure and pride that we present to you Finch.com. So Finch is an online platform on which hotels can list apartments which are either acquired by the hotel chains themselves or they are privately owned and are affiliated with Finch. So either way, this implies that hotel chains actually develop a new identity. And this new identity consists of a high-quality network, which is similar to Airbnb, but it is controlled by the hotel chains themselves.
So Finch.com is a new organization which is built based on starting capital from participating hotel chains, which want to engage in Finch.com. This way, their commitment to Finch.com is increased, and them being shareholders increases their interest in Finch financial performance.
But before we go into detail of this performance, we would first like you to meet Katie, this 23 years old MBA student living here in Paris. And as a typical millennial, Katie represents the main last customer segment. So we were wondering, what is it that Katie seeks when booking a leisure trip? So therefore, we performed some research, and as it turns out, there are three major aspects that play a role. So first of all, that is the relatively low price that she values. Second of all, it's the authentic experience. And lastly, it's the prime location that she seeks.
But ladies and gentlemen, how are we actually going to satisfy Katie's needs? So first of all, let's look at the aspects of hotel chains acquiring apartments. There are two factors of high importance. First of all, Finch.com, and second of all, the hotel chains themselves. What are the hotel chains going to do in order to satisfy Katie's needs? Well, they will deliver the product. Ladies and gentlemen, Katie wants an apartment that offers her an authentic experience which is reflected in the design and the facilities offered. That means that we should all forget about laundry services or minibars, but rather focus on bookshelves or paintings in order to create a home away from home. Additionally, this is a unique opportunity for us to reduce our costs in these aspects.
And another way to reduce those costs is actually through employee expenses. Because per 10 guests, there will only be one staff member in place, the so-called host. And Maria here is such a host. And the ultimate purpose of having her is to reinforce the personal contact with the guest and to create an authentic and unique experience. And what's also important to mention about Maria here is that she is hired by the specific hotel chain, but in order to keep the service standards and quality standards high, she will be evaluated by Finch, its quality assurance team, through online reviews and through mystery shopping.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, you all think these idealistic ladies from Hotels to Gul The Hague who still think that people can just randomly buy apartments and make a business out of it. Well, we thought so as well, that maybe it would be a bit expensive. So that's the reason why we came up with also introducing affiliations. The other reason why to introduce affiliations is because Katie's parents are actually showing interest into programs or offers such as Airbnb.
Indeed, because they suddenly have a room to spare. But what would be the benefit for her parents to actually affiliate with Finch? Well, let's find out and let's take a look inside. So, first of all, the main benefit is that once the affiliation has been established, safety and security procedures will be guaranteed, and which is highly valued by this Generation X. So, other than that, the branding and the name of the company adds great value. That's a really good tool to fill up rooms and thus optimize occupancy. And lastly, actually, in order to optimize this revenue with the occupancy or demand out there, we think it's really good to introduce a revenue management system run by Finch, but which can be used and applied by those private property owners.
Right, so now we've spoken about hotel chains and private property owners regarding their apartments, but what does Finch.com actually do? Well, let's start with the benefits of starting this affiliation. So first of all, there's a certain cost efficiency in order to introduce, well, which comes with introducing these apartments, being that they can expand their variety of accommodation types and their visibility much quicker through these affiliations.
Indeed, but why would guests actually want to book through Finch and not through Airbnb? In other words, what makes Finch stand out from its competition? Well, that is the reward system, Finch Rewards, which applies to both guest booking through Finch directly, but also applies to guest booking through the affiliations. So it basically entails that depending on the amount spent per stay, guests can earn a certain amount of points, which will represent a discount for the following stay.
But ladies and gentlemen, the benefits of booking through Finch.com do not end here. Globally, unified terms and conditions with regards to, for instance, cancellation policies or deposit requirements will offer a transparency to clients which is not yet known in the hospitality industry and will therefore create an additional customer loyalty.
So the terms and conditions Anna just briefly touched upon will be formally recorded in a contract. And this will then enable all stakeholders to actually financially benefit from the concept. So first of all, Finch will benefit from the concept through the booking fee, which all guests pay when booking a room, and also through the affiliation fee, which is only paid by the guest booking through the private-owned apartment. Then, to continue with the hotel chains, how do they generate revenue? Well, simply by selling their rooms. They are guaranteed of their room revenue.
And by getting some dividends out of their shares. Yes. So private property owners obviously get the money of their room price, which of course will be optimized due to the revenue management system that they get offered through Finch.com. Now you're all thinking, what is Airbnb suddenly doing in this chart? Well, let's think about it. One of the biggest challenges that Airbnb is currently facing is to adapt their services to this Generation X. And through an affiliation of Finch.com, this is actually possible, which means that affiliated apartments of Finch.com could potentially be also distributed on Airbnb.com, which makes up their profit.
So, ladies and gentlemen, let's face it. Finch is all the hotel industry has been waiting for. We believe that it allows hotel chains to reinforce their competitive market position by regaining the lost customer segments. In fact, we believe that by bundling their powers, the hotel chains can take the hospitality industry to the next level. For home is not where the heart is, but home is where Finch is. Thank you.
We also need to answer through the microphone. Yes? Right.
Yes, for the record, apparently. Everything you say will be taken down and used in evidence.
All right.
I personally, I liked a lot of what you had to say. A lot of thoughts got into it. So, I think commend you for a very thorough oral and written presentation. Enough of the nice stuff, though. Actually, there's a few other nice things to say about it. I think the idea of the host, which I think in the written document says a host will look after 10 assets, makes sense. Safety and security, I get that. The brand value, I get that as well. Where I start to struggle more is on the revenue model side. So that's where my direction of questions are coming.
Yeah.
Which are principally around two aspects, really. The concept of the points, and how the points can work. And then secondly, how the revenue model, which looks, to my mind, and the audience hasn't got the benefit of this, but to be pretty expensive, because you're looking at, I think, a total cost, which is borne by somebody, the customer ultimately, of around, I think it was 20 to 21% of the price paid for the apartment, which compares, I think, with an Airbnb cost of 3%.
Right.
So it looks very expensive.
Yeah.
Therefore, my question would be, why would I put my apartment on your site as opposed to Airbnb when I'm going to get 97 euros and 100 on Airbnb, and I'm going to get 79 out of your site?
Right. So just to come back to your first question, it was about the points, right? So that would then be about the rewards program. Indeed. So initially for the rewards program, what we thought is that, well, there needs to be an added value of booking through finch.com, like we said in the presentation. In practice, however, of course, the reservations go through finch.com, which means that points can only be used on finch.com, which then essentially means that the host or the owners of the apartments, in case of an affiliation, or the chains which own the apartment will get a reimbursement of these points. So actually just like it usually works as well in the hotel industry.
I think the complication on the model compared to what you presented, the written compared to the oral, was on the oral presentation, you had one brand basically sponsoring Finch, and I get that. But where you have multiple brands and you're trying to swap points between hotel brands and needing to be paid for, that's the piece I kind of struggle to see how it works. Suppose somebody stays in property A, and they earn Marriott points, and then they go and stay in property B, which is affiliated with IHG, and they want to. How does that work?
Well, the thing is, they don't really earn points per brand. You see, they earn points per finch.com. Yeah. So let's say any apartment or any hotel chain which is, investing into finch.com will get points in whatever chain they would potentially stay. So that means, of course, that finch.com is taking care of the charges of the points in order to increase the number of sales for everyone, which means that the hotel chains themselves will not lose any revenue by having, for instance, someone use their points when booking
Hilton.
Indeed, Hilton. Yeah. And for your second question, does that answer your question?
Yeah, that's fine. The second question is more fundamental, I think.
Yeah, that's more challenging to mention. No, indeed. Of course, the revenue management service is obviously an expensive service that we would offer. Yeah. But if you look at the numbers and at the growth from Airbnb over the years, they just reached a significant amount of listings. So this competition also amongst listings and amongst apartments is going to grow over the years. That's at least what we expect. Yeah. So therefore, a certain pricing strategy will be beneficial for these apartments, which is also, at the end of the day, yes, it might become more expensive for them on a percentage point of view. But if, for instance, they're not aware of something happening in the city and just offer it below price, then they get their money back by simply having this offer. That's the thought behind it, at least.
Yeah, and especially in the beginning of Finch, it's really important to have this, actually, we think. Because it is, of course, vital in the beginning to grow your network fast. Because if all the participating hotels, let's say it's 5, all acquire 3 apartments, it's not going to work. So we really need this variation, and we need a wide variety of accommodation types. And we thought that if we have the right tools to attract those people, to get them to affiliate with us, well, we thought that the revenue management system would be a great motivation to actually do so.
So the shareholders for Fitch are going to be the hotel companies. Is that correct?
Indeed.
How are you going to sell the concept of IHG investing in a company that could potentially be selling Hyatt's rooms?
Well, the thing is, interesting question, and I get your point. Indeed, I think this is something which has, rarely been done in the hotel industry beforehand. Apparently, it has taken 3 years in order to, make negotiations for room key. But if you look at it, it is true. Right now, it's not a big threat, but over time, especially when potentially a next economic crisis will rise up, they will have the need to have a certain market in this area. Of course, it is, potentially, I would say, a down pitfall that you might help other hotel chains, but they might also help you. And the dividends that you actually get out of it, especially through these affiliations, are the same from all of them. Now, what you would do with your room prices, whether you are Hyatt, apartment prices, whether you are Hyatt, Hilton, or Intercontinental, is up to you. So there is your freedom to generate additional revenue through Finch.com through your room price. Does that answer your question?
And if I can add something to that,
Yeah.
actually the main message of our concept is that it's time to stop competing, but actually collaborating. So like I said, we need to bundle the strengths if we want to get further, because right now it's not happening. So something needs to change. Does that answer your question, sir?
A quick question: when you talked about getting these different apartments from private owners and going through Finch.com, it assures safety and security. How do you do that when they're individual units that aren't constructed by the hotel company? What's the plan of action for that?
Well, so like I said, we have the quality assurance team, which basically one of their jobs is to take care of this. So before anyone can actually list their apartment, it has to be approved by this team. So there will be certain procedures and policy established in which the criteria are consistently and clearly stated. And so the apartment needs to be approved first. And once it has been approved, we can list it, and of course there are checks as well, like you stated.
Well, also another aspect which you could look into is, for instance, now on Airbnb or Home Away from Home, I could potentially make a listing without them checking me in any way. Yeah. But what you could, for example, introduce is a psychology test where you simply ask, basic questions in order to figure out the host's personality and whether or not he is suitable to offer his apartment to these cities. And of course, Finch.com at a starting point won't be present in every single city, but probably the hotel chains investing into that Finch.com will be. So then, of course, you must make an agreement to a certain extent which hotel chain in what city takes charge of these, let's say, mystery shopping principles. Yeah. Well, thank you very much.
Is mine
Hello?
on? Is it working? All right, here we go.
Okay.
Okay, my name's Guy Cook.
And I'm Francesco Jimenez.
So thank you for taking the time to be here today. With that being said, let's get started. What do you see when you see this picture? What do you see, ma'am? A half-empty glass. Half empty, half full. So who really knows? No one really knows. This is all about perception. What do you believe? What do you see? And perception forms how we see the world around us, how we see business decisions. So we want you to keep that in mind throughout this presentation. Is it half full or half empty, or is it just a glass and it doesn't matter? So we were posed with the question, how can hotels continue to compete and collaborate with the rise of the sharing economy? And these are the solutions we have put together.
So if you look at this picture here, what do you see? You see the front desk agent and a hotel customer. So Webster's dictionary defines a hotel as a place where travelers go to that provides food, lodging, and other services. But that's just a basic definition. We know hotels are much more than that these days. It's a place, it's a community, it gives off so many amenities. So keeping that in mind, hotels provide more services than that. And if we look at this next diagram, we have the sharing economy. The sharing economy, as Forbes describes it, as owners renting out their space to other customers. But again, what ties these two concepts together is a sense of community, a sense of calling it home. If you look at this diagram, we have all of the sharing economy companies to the left that are specified in lodging, and to our right, we have Uber, the giant. Now, what we're saying here is that there's no reason why these companies on the left can become as big as Uber on the right. However, why can't hotels grow with them together while collaborating? Because the hotel industry has this perceived fear that is based on a potential loss of market share. Well, yesterday's session with Chip Conley, the VP of Strategy for Airbnb, he says in all the major markets around the world where there's new supply go through the use of Airbnb, it's not affecting your average occupancy of the city. It's not affecting your rates of ADR. In fact, it's just expanding the pie to a bigger customer target segment. So please keep this in mind as Guy talks about our two solutions for this opportunity.
So when we were posed with this question, we sat down and we said, what are possible solutions? Not what is our solution, but the whole total. What can we do? So we thought about it. Can hotels buy some of these smaller companies? Sure. Can hotels buy Airbnb? Probably not at their current $10 billion market valuation. So then we started thinking, what if hotels push and try and block Airbnb, try to block these sharing economies through government policy? Why do you want to get wrapped up in that battle, though? Why fight? And then we also thought about sitting back and waiting, see what these companies become. But we all know what happened when the hotel industry sat back and watched what OTAs become. Now they're the biggest headache in the industry. So we thought, we have two solutions here. We can cope and we can collaborate. The definition of coping is getting over something, working together to work past something. Work past something like a fear that the hotel industry has of the sharing economy and of all these perceived threats. Once coping takes place, we can work on collaboration. Collaboration is working together to achieve a common goal. What is the common goal of the travel industry? To improve and incentivize global travel, which improves the bottom line. So we start with our first solution, our first collaboration, a shared rewards program which gets brands in front of a larger customer segment. Through this shared rewards program, we say, why can you only gain points towards a hotel stay while you're staying at a hotel? Why can't Marriott partner up with Airbnb? So when you're staying at an Airbnb property, you're getting points towards a stay at a Marriott hotel. This will incentivize further travel, and if it doesn't incentivize the next trip, it still gets the brand in front of a different customer segment. We also thought, why can't hotels fully utilize already existing assets? Hotels have pools, hotels have gyms, they have bars and lounges, but how often are those at 100% occupancy? Almost never, because hotels are almost never at 100% occupancy. Why limit your customer base in that hotel, restaurant, or bar to those people staying in your hotel? With this program, we figure, take Marriott and Airbnb, for example, again. If you're staying in an Airbnb in Paris, and the local Marriott has an amazing restaurant, an amazing bar, Why can't you get a real-time text or email from Marriott to your cell phone saying 10% off dinner, here's a free drink voucher? That will drive more people to your hotel to use those underutilized assets to expand revenue.
And for our final main point, no great strides in innovation have ever been made without taking calculated risks. Of course, with this collaboration, there is always a risk for both sides. But how many of you here flew into Berlin? Have you guys taken a tour of Berlin yet? You know, if it wasn't for the Wright brothers building that first airplane and taking a risk there and not taking no for an answer, or how about the Berlin Wall coming down, we wouldn't be here today. We wouldn't have both sharing economy companies or hotel companies making profits off of Berlin as we see today. So please keep this in mind.
With all of this being said, we bring it back to the glass. Do you still see this glass as half empty? We would like
Great.
everyone to see this glass as half full. But half full or half empty, it doesn't matter. It's all perception. We perceive this to be a great opportunity. The sharing economy is a half full glass. Why not fill it all the way up, incentivize global travel, and work together to collaborate?
And with that, we'll take any questions you may have. Thank you.
Can you just elaborate? You had the three points of how you would see the coping and collaboration.
Okay, so yeah, coping and collaborating are two ways to rise and compete with the sharing economy. But through that collaboration, we believe a shared rewards program, a utilization of assets, and an injection of innovation that the hotel industry has been needing for quite some time.
The second revenue sharing idea or revenue generation idea I like. Have you got anything in the way of analysis that you've seen to show that the idea works in practice?
We don't have any research showing that it currently works in that exact model, but we do know that hotel companies are reaching out to their existing rewards customers, even in their own home cities, sending them these emails saying 10% off dinner or a free drink voucher. So we just propose expanding that, sending it to more people.
Okay, so the model's to be proven effectively, but effectively the assumption is that in your analysis, or your hypothesis, I suppose, that a partnership between a Marriott, let's say, and an Airbnb could work because both would generate additional revenue from additional customer spend from the association. Yep. Going back to the first point, the first revenue generation model was about points being given, which is not the first time we've heard about points today, as you wouldn't be surprised. Again, where I struggle with this is actually getting the model to work. And again, I'm part of the sharing economy. I have a property which is on Airbnb. I'm not going to advertise it, but so I know what the revenue cost is and what I pay to Airbnb for a booking, and it's only 3% of the revenue generated. Yeah. So if you're giving points away, that's got to come out of the 3%, which means you must have to stay an awful lot of nights in order to gain one room night.
That's right, but what Chip Conley said yesterday is that he's seen that there are more people who stay at an Airbnb for a longer period of time than what other business travelers do at a hotel.
Okay, so what you're saying is per effective stay, you may be staying for a week, and therefore
or longer.
You'd get 7 points rather than 1 point,
yeah.
Effectively. Okay.
So your target market is the hotel companies, is that correct? And are you saying that it's the service is open to all of them? So it can be a Marriott offering that discount of £10, but you could have a Hyatt offering a discount on use of a room or something like that?
The way we've thought about it is those companies will have to make that decision on how they partner on their own. Is it an exclusive deal? I'm sure they would prefer that way, but if Airbnb is controlling the situation, it may be a deal between 2 or 3 hotels and Airbnb. So we can't make that choice for them, but we feel that the hotels will benefit from the more revenue, the higher bottom line, and Airbnb will benefit from that stamp of approval from someone who has standardized practices that might incentivize more travel their end as well.
So would they be actually, in effect, putting promotions, posting promotions onto this vehicle? Is that how it's going to work?
Yeah, they would be promoting the hotel as well, but more so after bookings were made. So if I book 3 nights at an Airbnb, I might get an email that says those 3 points are worth this many points at a Marriott. So after the bookings take place, because there's no point in promoting Marriott before you book the Airbnb, because what if I just decide to click and go to the Marriott?
And what would the incentive for Airbnb on this? What do they get out of it?
That's a great question. If anything, Airbnb gets a more validity by partnering up with a big hotel company, that more travelers would feel safe using Airbnb or any of the other sharing economy companies. With their customers would feel more safe, that bigger companies have come in and sort of standardized the process and helped Airbnb out by giving a stamp of approval.
We also feel that Airbnb would have greater customer satisfaction and greater guest ratings, because when you stay in an Airbnb, oftentimes the host isn't there. It's great when they are, they can show you around, they can take you through the city, but when they're not there, you're kind of left on your own. So if you're left on your own, but Marriott throws you a bone, here's dinner, here's a drink, you can figure it out a little more easily and be more satisfied with your stay.
So there's no monetary exchange. It's more of an endorsement for Airbnb that they would be looking to get out of this relationship. Is that?
Yes.
Given a number of the hotel companies, and you've used Marriott in your example, so I'll use it back to you. Marriott probably one of the most obsessive, I suppose, or focused, depending how you kind of look at it, in terms of life safety of their customers. Do you see a challenge problem in Marriott associating itself with Airbnb, where life safety for the customer is so important? Suppose they had to stay in an Airbnb property which is not inspected prior to stay. Customer has a terrible accident. Customer looks to Marriott for compensation.
Well, through our rewards program, we're only offering points. So you stay at an Airbnb. You're only getting points to go stay at a Marriott. So Marriott isn't saying necessarily go stay at an Airbnb, but is more taking Airbnb's customers and putting their brand in their face. But with the stamp of approval, with that, there do come risks. And I think most people who use Airbnb understand you're staying in someone's home. It might be a historical property. And I think if Marriott portrays that to their customers honestly and effectively, then I think it wouldn't be an issue.
We have time for one more question, Jen.
Okay, just to finish that point, though, well, most of the Marriott properties are not owned by Marriott. They are either managed or franchised, and yet Marriott is still responsible for the life safety issue. And I can see that it's not a big leap from booking through Airbnb to having the same issue that Marriott would face on that.
Okay.
I think we're done. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ask our judges to leave the room, and they're going to deliberate outside, and we're going to bring all the teams in. So there'll be an opportunity for Q&A from the audience while the judges deliberate, and the judges will be back in about 10. I'm sure that
one of the questions we were asking before was about the name Finch, was the story behind it, or sort of where did that come from, and have you looked up the URL, or sort of where,
I know, so essentially we looked for cool names and we found this,
Finch is becoming a boys' children's name in the UK with increasing popularity. So then we found it on Pinterest. That's the story. Any other questions?
I'm actually going to ask the HL team, was the idea inspired by the rise in popularity of collabs by any chance? Because in many cities around the world, the collabs, which is just basically a shared office space where people pay by the hour, they're gaining more and more popularity and becoming like almost number one of the space for offices anywhere.
It was partly inspired by that. It was mainly inspired by the fact that entrepreneurs are becoming, like our generation, they are becoming more and more entrepreneurial because also of the lack of job opportunities and because there are more and more also education programs that push them towards that.
So what was your idea? Could you please present it again?
Someone ask them a question so we can get a basic gist.
Maybe each team, just for your own curiosity, could you just in 30 seconds or a minute explain to the other teams what it was you did?
We know each other, so they don't know anything. Yeah.
Okay, ours was a collaboration between hotels and the sharing economy companies based off of three things. A shared rewards program for nights stayed at sharing economy properties. You can gain nights stayed at hotel. A utilization of assets that hotels already have, like their gyms, their restaurants, their bars, sending vouchers to local Airbnb people to bring them in to utilize those assets. And then lastly was just the injection of innovation through the collaboration from sharing economy companies to the hotel industry would just be another benefit for them.
Okay, so ours was a development of a sort of business model that would be used to target entrepreneurs and SMEs, because we believe that Airbnb, not only Airbnb, but them included, are really going after the business segment, and hotels really rely on that. So we thought we'd go along the entrepreneurial millennial vibe there and target SMEs with an integrated digital platform and developments at the hotel.
All right, so our concept was to introduce Finch.com, which is an online platform on which hotels can list apartments, which are either acquired by themselves, or those apartments are owned by people like you and me, or people from the audience, and those are affiliated with Finch.com.
Any other questions?
How many of the audience have stayed in Airbnb or similar? We're not all millennials, so
This kind of question for the team of Lausanne. Did you also consider working with a large retail company, for example? Because that's some of the trends that you see, right? Like Tommy Hilfiger hotels or whatever. Did you talk about that? Did you discuss that, or because you're in that business model environment? Not really.
The thing is, I'm sure every group went through 50 ideas before they sort of locked the target on one. And our problem is this question is so open. You could just go in every direction and really in that direction. We really want to target SMEs. And while maybe fashion retail partnerships are a thing of millennials, I mean, I don't see the benefit particularly for SMEs. And we really wanted to stay targeted with them. Otherwise, we just confuse the audience about what we're actually trying to achieve, I think.
Question for the Cornell team. In your business model, is it possible that also different hotel chains do the same with Airbnb, go together with Airbnb? Because what I understand now, you took the case of Marriott, which would be the only one connecting with Airbnb. So it's sort of restricted. So how can you make?
Yeah, we talked about it and we decided, it's not really up to us to say who's going to pair with what company or how many companies. So we just chose Marriott as an example, but it could be multiple companies, or it could be kind of the smaller sharing economy companies with the smaller hotel brands. So we kind of see it as an open field, and that's something they would have to battle over, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, I guess you guys have come to some conclusions. So
Let's hope so. So we tried to do this pretty quickly, bearing in mind that everybody's got meetings and different things to go and do. So I'll summarize as quickly as I can. We were obviously impressed with all three presentations. We thought the topic set this year was the most difficult we've ever seen. So we as judges sat here and thought, actually, we're glad we're judging it and not presenting it. So I commend everybody for having thought about the issue and the amount of research which the audience wouldn't have seen in terms of the depth that people have gone into to understand the issue, and the analysis and the research that's been read is quite incredible. Some of the sources go on for well over a page of sources of documents and studies, etc., that's been read.
Yeah, some of your research was interesting.
It certainly was. It certainly was.
For us old dogs to learn about.
So in the interest of time, I just want to summarize how we got to a winner rather than sort of going through each of the presentations. So the winner is the Hague team. So very well done. Which can be judged in one of two ways. Sitting in the audience, it received the loudest claps from the audience, so I think the audience felt they would agree with this decision. But we felt that the idea and the relevance of the idea was the strongest presented to us. The team clearly was very creative. The quality of the written product, which the audience won't have seen, was better than the other two. The quality of the answers was at least as good as we heard from in terms of the questions, etc. So overall, by a short head, it was a decision in favour of the Hague. So very well done.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. I guess that would wrap it up. So really, congratulations again to everybody. I think it's a great thing that you get to come here and do this and interact. The other the two teams, you'll have to leave the conference now. Okay, and pay us back for the entrance fee. No, kidding. No. So I hope you enjoyed the experience. You learned a lot. I mean, I think it was really interesting for us to see the different presentations. So thanks for your hard work. And thanks again to the judges and to Raj for all their hard work. And to you for coming and sitting through this and supporting the Student Challenge. Make sure when you get your post-conference feedback form that you rank this highly so that they continue to prominently feature it.